This video took a long time to make. Today we are analyzing Dirt Free. Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it. Okay, Dirt Free. Dirt Free was developed and published by Codemasters in 2011. I know I say this every single time, but I think this time I can also say that it's common knowledge, so let's just talk about the graphics. Graphically, for a game that came out in 2011, the graphics are very good. In fact, too good. This game came out pretty late during the 7th generation of consoles. Now, you probably don't know what I'm talking about since this is the first time I'm talking about this, so let me explain. The 7th generation of consoles started in 2005 with the Xbox 360, and it lasted until 2013, because in 2013 PS4 and Xbox One came out. In 2011, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were already outdated, and we had to wait 2 more years back then for the next generation to come out. So what does that have to do with Dirt Free? Well, Codemasters tried to push the graphics to the limit, basically. Especially on consoles, since back then Codemasters, just like most developers, cared more about consoles than PC. And because of that, Dirt Free is one of those games that suffers from console limitations. But despite all of that, like I said before, Codemasters wanted to push the graphics to the limit, especially on consoles, and because of that, Dirt Free looks very good. Well, actually it looks too good because they tried to push so much, but it's actually still, to this day, one of the best looking racing games of all time. But what about other games that came out in 2011? Let's have a look. In 2011 we had games like Test Drive Unlimited 2, Off-Road Racers, Cars 2, Driver San Francisco, WRC 2, Need for Speed The Run, and Sim Raceway. Now you may call me crazy, but I think the only game that looks slightly better than Dirt Free is Need for Speed The Run. But that's just me. Normally I would give more examples, but a lot of people told me in the comments that my videos are too long, so let's just move on with talking about the graphics. Okay, so what about the options? Well, the game runs at widescreen resolutions like 1080p, and it even runs in 4K, and you can launch the game on multiple monitors without any problems. That's amazing! It also has a very smooth frame rate, above 120 FPS, there is VSync, there is anti-aliasing, and for the most part it's a good PC port, but it has problems. But unlike most games, the problems in Dirt Free are the kind of problems you have to fix. Otherwise, your experience will be pretty much terrible. Okay, so let's talk about those problems. The first problem is the fact that there is no anisotropic filtering, and I don't think anyone found a solution for this, so you have to play this without anisotropic filtering. That's amazing. Another problem, this is the problem that I have experienced, but a lot of people didn't. I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with my PC, who knows? But every time I tried to launch the game, it launched in windowed mode. Thankfully, the workaround for this is very easy. You can toggle to windowed and full screen mode with Alt Enter, and the windows, even if you do play in the windowed mode, the window is fully resizable, so that's not a problem. But there are also some big issues, like for example, let me just tell you something. Let me just find it because I'm looking at my script. The black slash the green screen after selecting QSCAA anti-aliasing mode. For some reason, this can happen on post-Kepler GPUs such as GTX 750 Ti, GTX 900, GTX 1000 series, and newer due to their lack of support for the anti-aliasing method. The original anti-aliasing this method improves upon CSAA is not selectable in-game by such GPUs, and as such not covered here. There is a workaround for this. You can force MSAA. All you have to do is to go to the configuration files, open the hardware settings config XML file, find the multi-sampling line and change its value from 8 times QCSAA to 8 times MSAA. That should fix the problem. And like I've said, this is something you have to do. Otherwise, you just won't be able to play the game. Like, the game literally becomes the black and the green screen. I cannot play like this. Thankfully, I have fixed it for the video, so no problems there. Now, the bigger problem, there's no FOV slider. The parameters concerning the field of view as well as the point of view of each of the in-game cameras are stored in a binary file named cameras.xml. There is one such file for each car in the game. They are located with other car-related data in the subfolders of Path to Game Cars Models. These files can be batch edited using DiRT-free FOV change, although DLC cars may prove problematic as their data is reportedly stored in a different location. Conveniently, a backup of the binary files will be made in text format before attempting to modify them. This allows a quick restore of the most recent state. There is a method to fix this, of course, and this method is reliable and stable. Modifications can be made on the fly while in a race. And that method is by using the DiRT-free FOV change. All you have to do is to download the program, extract the files from the archive into a common folder, launch DiRT-free FOV change exe, although an essential part of the process, bin XML exe won't require user input. Set the desired values and click the start button. Launch the game, test the settings in the race, exit the race. Alt-tab to DiRT-free FOV change. Restore the original settings. This will not erase the values you previously entered in the GUI. Tweak set values. In DiRT-free, start a new race to check your changes. Repeat until the desired effect is attained. Pretty complicated, right? Well, there are a lot of things to note. Oh boy. Backing up the files that are about to be modified is never a bad idea. Keep that in mind. In some cases, you may have to manually point DiRT-free FOV change to the DiRT-free installation folder, and it is advisable to restore the original files in between modifications. This way the default settings will always be accessible. There are so many things to talk about when it comes to the FOV, but like I've said, I don't want to make the video too long, so I'll just move on to the story. Actually, before I move on to the story, I have to talk about one more thing. the stability. It didn't crash, it didn't lag, but it started like crazy when I was recording. I have absolutely no idea why that happened, but it just happened. In conclusion, it's a good PC release. It has some problems if you want to run it nowadays, but still, it's a good PC release. Like I've said, it just has some problems. Can I talk about the story now? Dirt 3 doesn't have a story, and I am totally okay with this. Like I've said in my Expand Rally comparison video, you don't need to have a story in a racing game for the racing game to be good. Many racing games don't have a story, sorry for stuttering, and they turn out phenomenal. Like for example Dirt 3 that I'm analyzing right now. I'll explain all of this in a gameplay. Speaking of the gameplay, time to analyze the gameplay. Let me start analyzing the gameplay by saying this. Back in 2011, I did play Dirt 3 and I did enjoy it, but it didn't really stuck with me. I thought the game was good, but I didn't really think much of it. I like it way more now. What happened? To answer this question, we need to talk about some things. The cars, the tracks, and the physics. I'm gonna start with analyzing the tracks first. There are so many tracks in this game, and I love it. You have so many locations like Finland, Kenya, Michigan, Norway, Monaco, Smelter, LA Coliseum, Aspen, Shibuya as a downloadable content, Monte Carlo as downloadable content, and Battersea, but it's only available in Dirt Tour mode. And with those amazing tracks, there are also great game modes. So before I describe the tracks in detail, first let's talk about the game modes. Rally. Point-to-point races against the clock. The driver with the fastest time wins. This is only one of two modes, the other being head-to-head, that features a co-driver reading pace notes. Rallycross. Basic circuit racing mode. Track surfaces can be tarmac, gravel, snow, or a mix of all. Cars boast over 500 bhp and 0 to 62 miles per hour times of 2 seconds flat. Trailblazer. Similar to Rally but with wider, more open stages. Cars are much more powerful with up to 900 bhp available. Gymkhana, the new mode for Dirt 3, made famous by Ken Block's YouTube videos. Drivers must pull off a variety of tricks for the crowd such as donuts, drifts, spins, smashing polystyrene blocks and jumps. It is a judged event and there is no start-finish line. The driver with the highest number of points wins. Land Rush. A bigger, tougher, nastier version of Rallycross. Tracks feature deep water, banked curves and jumps. Drivers race in identical trucks or buggies. Be careful, as the trucks are prone to rolling over when onto wheels. Head-to-head. Effectively a circuit race for the rally class cars. Instead of racing together, complex crossover circuits are used, so drivers cover the same amount of tarmac before crossing the line. Co-drivers feature in these events, reading pace notes. There are also some party modes. There are 4 party modes to be more specific. Let's talk about them as well. Transporter. Race around the compound picking up the flags and taking them to the drop zones to score points. You can steal the flag by nudging an opponent, so expect a full contact experience. Invasion. The robots are back. Hunt down and destroy the robot invaders as they beam in and try to avoid causing collateral damage to the civilian buildings. Outbreak. One racer is randomly infected at the start of each round. Avoid them at all costs. Once infected, you score points for infecting other players, but you score more for staying uninfected, so try to stay clean until the end of the round if you can. And last but not least, cat and mouse. This team-only discipline takes place on standard rally and rallycross tracks. Each team must race to get their slower mouse car over the line first. Cats should do whatever it takes to help out their own team's mouse while making life difficult for their opponent's mouse. Now that's a lot of game modes, but what about those tracks I talked about earlier? Short answer, they are very well designed. Long answer, these tracks have everything you can possibly ask for. All kinds of twists and turns, a lot of long straights, some obstacles on your way, and probably some other things that I will probably forget to mention because that happens way too often in my analysis videos. Those tracks are so well designed that we actually need a new word for how good those tracks are, really. I like how different weather conditions affect your car's handling, something that most new games can't even do nowadays. For example, the tracks in the snow are more slippery than the ones like the one you're seeing right now. For example, Kenya, and other stuff like that. A lot of tracks in this game also give you moments where you can top out your max vehicle speed, which is always nice and see. Not to mention, the game also has a great sense of speed. The track variety is also amazing. The good example of this is this track right here, Kenya. But like I've mentioned before when I told you about many disciplines or game modes, each one has something unique to them. Some of them are short technical courses, some of them are long tracks, some of them are filled with twists and turns, some of them are easy, some of them are hard. There is something for everyone in this game when it comes to the tracks and when it comes to the cars as well. Speaking of the cars, let's talk about them, and let's also talk about the handling. There are so many cars in this game. Now, of course, I'm not going to describe every single car in this game, that's literally impossible. I'm just going to tell you all about the categories. For rally cars, you have the Pro cars, Open cars, Super 2000, the one made in the 90s, Group B, 80s, 70s, 60s, Raid. But there are also specific ones for the Trailblazer mode, the Classic and Modern. Rallycross has its own selection of cars, same with Gymkhana and Land Rush. There's something for everyone. Of course, when we talk about cars, we can't forget about the handling. Now here's something you need to know. I was playing this game on advanced difficulty. That means not a single assist was turned on, all of them were turned off, and I tried playing the game at max difficulty, aka difficulty 6 when you choose a stage. And as you can see, when I was playing on difficulty 6, I had pretty bad placing, and I couldn't really do much with it. I usually ended up 7th or 5th, may sometimes 3rd in Rallycross, but Then after that I realized that the highest difficulty isn't made for me, so I decided to tone it down a bit, and later I've played it with the difficulty number 5 out of 6 to be exact. And I have to say, Even if you play on the high difficulty, and even when you turn off every single assist, the gameplay, the driving, the handling is super smooth. Honestly, I have no idea how to put it into words. It is incredibly good. All settings can be adjusted before the race, so you have a ton of options for every vehicle. That is amazing. I love when games do this. Normally I would explain that in detail, but you can see in the footage, well, not right now, but you will be able to see that a couple of times in the footage what can be changed and what cannot be changed. So just watch the video and you will see it, although you have probably seen it a couple of times already. To be honest, this gameplay is so good that I actually don't know what to say, so I'm just going to keep it short. The tracks are very well designed, the cars are very well designed as well when it comes to sponsorships and liveries and other stuff. They can also be modified, well, both the normal modifications and the assists, you can turn them on or off. The handling is also grippy and twitchy, sometimes slightly depending on your settings. Like I've said before, this is highly customizable, so you will always be able to customize the handling to your liking. That is amazing. All of this is amazing. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, what's wrong with this game? Well, to be honest, I don't really have anything negative to say about the game, but I will still have to say two things. The first thing is that the difficulty can be sometimes a bit unfair, but only a bit. You do get flashbacks from Grid and from Dirt 2 to help with this issue, and it's actually works. This is also one of those games when I don't get frustrated or angry when I crash, because I can simply just use the flashback and I'll be done with it. Problem is gone. What I meant to say is, don't play the game on difficulty 6. Just play maybe on 5 and you should be able to enjoy yourself. And the second problem is something that I actually forgot to mention in the graphics, now that I'm editing this video, is the post-processing filter. The game has a controversial post-processing filter which can only be disabled by deleting a file in the game's installation folder. Without the filter, the game looks even less vibrant than it did prior, but as the original filter is disabled, it can now be replaced entirely. Yeah, the post-processing effects in this game aren't the best. That's all I'm going to say about it, really. But there is a workaround. I'm not really gonna explain it now because this video is already too long. If I explain it, it will make it incredibly long, so that's why I don't want to do that. So yeah, but there is a workaround for this, so there's no problem. But now that I think about it, those are the only two negative things I can say about the game. In conclusion, Dirt 3, despite the fact that the game is now 12 years old, as of me recording this, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. I can't believe why I actually can't remember why I like it more now than I did back then. You see, back then the game didn't really stick with me for some reason, and now I can't even remember what the reason was. But now that I've played it again after all those years, it's so refreshing. I definitely recommend getting the game. Buying the game and stuff. That's what I would have said if the game was available on Steam. Yes, just like every single game made by Codemasters, after a few years, it disappears from the digital stores entirely, and I don't like it at all. So I hope you still have your copy, or some way, you know of some way to get this game on Steam nowadays. It's pretty hard, but still you can try to go out your way to get the game. It is worth it, and all I can say, I definitely recommend I can definitely easily recommend this game to you. The game is amazing. I can guarantee you will have lots of fun. So yeah, go play it. The game is amazing. Go play it and tell me what you think. But that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say in this analysis video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Just